Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. My everything in bloom on the 8th very rarely includes these because they're right at the back of the shelf and they don't come out very often. But with the limited numbers of blooms this time round, I thought I'd literally include everything. Now that does mean getting the tripod out, but so be it. Don't have to do it very often, but it does mean while the tripod's in here, even some of the larger blooms I'll be able to get in a lot closer than I would normally do. This camera won't focus really close in unless it's absolutely still and the subject is still as well, and then I can get quite close. So I thought we'd have a look at some of the Restrepias. This is Restrepia Houlisse. From the Eric Young Foundation, and as Restrepia blooms go, this is quite a large one. Yeah, so literally from tip to toe you're looking at a good 3 inches there. So as I say, as Restrepia blooms go, this is quite large. Some of them are tiny. Anyway, some close-ups on these. Very alien shaped blooms. Their structure is still undecided as to why. The lip is the tiniest little piece in the centre that looks like a spoon. That's the lip, basically. And the pretty coloured bit is actually 2 sepals fused together. And the third sepal is that antennae sticking up the top. And the other 2 petals are those tiny little antennae-like things out the sides. So it's an incredibly unusual structure, even for an orchid. Yeah. They all form a similar structure, so you know, they do look similar, as you know, as do many other orchids. Most Phalaenopsis look a bit similar and the like. Anyway, some close-ups to try and look at that delicate patterning on the lip, which just is impossible to hand film. The camera just blurs it. So that's that one. Now, this is my other one from the Eric Young Foundation. This is Restrepia-Handdis, or Handois, French, and probably my favourite. I do have another Restrepia that has very similar blooms, but the gold element is more dominant than the red stripes on this one. This one comes over a bit more red with some gold, whereas the other one is gold with some red. And the other one is also about 1/3 the size of this one. Most of the Eric Young crosses do turn out to be quite large, although I'd call that a medium-sized one. But nonetheless, the colours on that just has to be one of my favourite combinations of colours. When you've got a deep red like that, and what some would say is yellow is really a gold yellow. It really is a gorgeous plant. Plant's growing quite well, but that bloom, it's just the spectacle of those colours and those clearly defined stripes. Appeals to me anyway. And this one is a species. This is Restrepia faulkenbergii, and I believe this is one of the parents in the previous cross, which is where it gets its golden red colours from. Now this is a much smaller bloom. This is not the tiniest by any means, but nonetheless an awful lot smaller. This is probably my favourite as far as the colours are concerned, because of the amount of yellow gold. And even though the red stripes are really finely shown on the bloom, they just give it that extra edge. If it was all yellow, it would take the edge off it for me. I should have another Restrepia. The gutulata was open. I actually showed that a couple of days ago, but the bloom has closed. Now I'm waiting to see, because it's quite early in the day at the moment, I'm waiting to see if it closes overnight and opens again during the day, which is possible. Some orchids do that, and that is its first bloom. But if it doesn't open, then they don't last long, basically. We'll leave it at that. Well, this is Maxillaria sophronitis. This is a tiny little bloom, so unfortunately it's just starting to fade, so it's not at its best, but nonetheless it's still hanging in there, so it gets included. The camera won't pick up that colour. Most cameras mess about with reds and oranges, and I'm assuming mine's doing the same, but until I actually see it on a screen I don't really know, because often the colours on my video camera screen are not what turns up on the actual video, so we'll have to wait and see. But it's a rich orange yellow, orange red, but it is fading, so you know, on its last legs. There will be more to come. That's a sort of blooms as and when it's ready type plant. Okay, we're back to handheld now. Now I don't quite know what this is going to look like against the sun. It could end up being quite artistic. It could end up being a silhouette, I don't know. But this is my lovely big purple Vanda spike. I'm half tempted to take that to the show tables at Wessex on Saturday, but it's such a faff getting Vandas in and out of a car. I'll probably won't doing it, especially as it sounds like it's going to be chucking it down with rain. But anyway, this spike's lasting well, all the blooms are open, and it is stunning. It is a spectacle. Now, I'm not actually going to get the Vandas down, but I will move this one so that we can have a look at the orange one. Often neglected, but that one does actually have another spike coming on it. It's just started over the last few days. Don't know whether I can get round and see what the hell I'm doing, but somewhere down in front of the camera there, probably blurred, is a spike. Anyway, that's not what this is about. It's about the blooms. This one's is a colour changer. It opens up quite a bronzy colour, sort of hinting towards brown, which at the time is not as attractive as the colour it fades to, which is what you're looking at now, which is a lovely vibrant orange. Now that's strictly speaking was an Ascocenda, not a Vanda, which is a cross with a Vanda, but they've been reclassified, so it's now a Vanda. But there is a distinct difference in the look of the spikes and the blooms, size mainly, and shape. There is a difference, so why the hell they were reclassified, I don't know. Anyway, that's that one, just a no ID. And then the other Vanda that's out, again against the light, I don't quite know how that's going to come out, but this is the large white one. I will put pop-ups of these because, quite honestly, the names are just too long to remember. It's easier to write them than it is to say them. Another good spike, this one is looking good. All the buds are open now. Lovely succession showing the fact that Vanda blooms grow. Latest bloom is sort of that size, but as you come back up the spike, the blooms just get larger and larger, and it's where they continue to grow after they open. So yeah, 3 Vandas, all in bloom, looking good. Coming down here, we've got the Oncidium sotoanum, which again is in bloom and looking good. And notice the real difference. These colours, the colours of these blooms, these have been open quite a while. These have been open a long time and are starting to fade, and these have just opened. And the depth of colour on the recently opened ones is much, much better than as they fade. Well, depending on whether you like deep pink or pale pink. The Peter Komp is going to fade soon, so this will probably be the last time well, it certainly won't be there in a month's time. This one's producing new growths, so it's going to be a wait before it comes back into bloom. But with a succession of spikes, that's actually been in bloom a very long time. So, you know, as a succession. But each spike lasts pretty well, and very, very fragrant, Peter Komp. Beauty, that one. The Cattleya Angel Heart, still looking good, 4 really good sized blooms. That's probably about as deep as the colours are going to get now, because that opens almost white, just a creamy colour, and then gradually gets its depth of colour as it ages. That's probably about as deep as the colours are going to get now. It's blowing in the breeze at the moment. Right, that's that one. This little Cattleya is a nice contrast here. This one's been open a while, quite a while, and will be fading soon. Whereas this little one here has just opened. So you can see the way that the colours change. Now this one fades and gets more yellow on it. So when it opens, there's an awful lot of that pinky purple tinge to it and a sort of peachy colour. And then as it fades, that peachy colour turns to a more yellow colour. So again, a transition of colours as the blooms age. I love that one. My daughter was well impressed with that. Yeah, she's not that impressed with the big blousy magenta type Cattleyas. She likes the more delicate ones, so yeah, she really liked that one. And the other Cattleya, the bloom is fading, and this one isn't much of a colour changer. It opens yellow and it stays yellow, but it's a shape changer, so we've got a shapeshifter. When it opens very flat, yeah, and then the sepals curl backwards as it ages. So it changes its shape rather than its colour. So that's a bit unusual, but still there and still looking reasonable. Nice bright yellow. I like a splash of yellow. Oh, that makes my arm ache right up there. The Deesa's still hanging in there. Well, two are. This one's just about to drop, the first one that opened on the spike. The other two are still there. That's been open a very, very long time, because all the summer blooms just blasted in the heat. They only lasted a couple of weeks and then they went. That was a shame, because I mean these do last quite a long time, well over 2 months, heading towards 3. And it's just a shame that I had a good blooming, 3 good spikes, and they only lasted a couple of weeks. But can't control the weather. This little Latoria is looking good. Well, I say little, as my Latorias go, this is actually quite a large plant. Now this suffered in the heat, because although this looks like the older leafless canes, it's not. 2 of those are new growths, and they just dump their leaves. But nonetheless, it's pushed up so many new growths this year that it is actually in bloom on many canes at the moment, and it's a good blooming. Now I'm holding the camera above these blooms because that's where they look best. It's the patterning is on, that's why I've lowered this one down. So rather than looking up at the blooms like some Dendrobiums, it is still very attractive inside though, this one. It's got lovely delicate veining on the inside of the lip, and the spotting on the back shows through, especially against the light like that. So yeah, I've forgotten what that one is. I think that's polysema crossed with aberrans, I believe, but I'll check it before I do the pop-up. So that's that one. The other Latoria over here, sorry about the fast camera work, there is a bloom fading on here. That's fair enough. This has been open an awful long time. Nora Tokunaga crossed with aberrans this time, and again, viewed from above, lovely depth. Let me just take, if I can, just nip that bloom off. No, I'd have to get the scissors. It's not going to come off. Hang on. Right, that's got it. Only it was in the way of looking at the pattern on the back of the blooms. So again, similar pattern to the previous one. That's its aberrans trait from the species. But this one's got hardly any patterning at all on the inside. So it's just a greeny cream colour with just hints of pink. So this one is best viewed from above. Very nice, that one. Now I'm just scanning round. I'm not going to bother filming that because that's about to drop, sorry. There's a big leaf across the lens. That's the Elizabethan Buckleberry, but the last spike on that is dropping. It's about to fall, so it's not looking good. I've got one little Phalaenopsis open, and although this is a no ID hybrid, I have got a good feeling that this may even be a primary cross. This is very close to a species, just by looking at its shape, its colouring, and especially the lip. Very, very delicate, tiny little bloom for a Phalaenopsis, but then it's a miniature plant anyway. But I think that's quite close to a species, that one. And looking round, yep, we'll finish on this then. So a nice splash of yellow and orange in the sunshine. This is Tolumnia Golden Ray Sunshine, I think. It's got a lot of sunshine in it, and at the moment it's sat in the sunshine, and it looks absolutely stunning lit up in the sun. Absolutely gorgeous. There is something about some of the Tolumnias. They really are incredible looking blooms. I mean, they were once called Oncidiums, but they got given their own genus effectively. And I believe it's probably because of the plants, because the plants are not Oncidium-like, even though the blooms are. I mean, that could just as easily be grown out the top of a Oncidium bulb. But, you know, for the size of the blooms, you get a lot of bloom for the size of your plant. Yeah? So, anyway. Okay, that's it. I don't think I've missed anything. Knowing me, I probably have, but yeah, so that's everything in bloom for the month again. And tomorrow's video and Saturday's video are already filmed. I've got a lot of watering to do tomorrow, and Saturday's an Orchid Society meeting, so I didn't want to be messing about with videos as well. So yeah, I've got two that I prepared earlier. And we'll get those posted. They can be posted early in the day because I've got no messing about to do. Just got to wait for YouTube to get them up there, basically. So, thanks for dropping by. See you next time.